Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another episode of The Talk with Sorintan Haure. Today we'll be discussing about the issues faced by the youth of Manipur due to the ethnic conflict which has been going on since the 3rd of May 2023. We'll be talking to youths of different communities who has been affected directly or indirectly by the ongoing ethnic conflict. We'll be discussing about their experiences and also about suggestions on how to end this conflict peacefully. First of all, I'd like to introduce you Ms. Ritu Konsam. She is a researcher at Ashoka University in the Political Science Department. She completed her master's in Politics of Conflict, Rights and Justice from Commonwealth um, SOS University of London. And also, yeah, Ritu, thank you for joining us. Welcome to the show. And I would like to introduce you, Mr. C. Thangminlal Dongil. He is currently a research scholar in education at the National Institute of Educational Planning and Administration, New Delhi. And also, he is the vice president or admin of the Kuki Students Organization, Delhi and NCR at the moment. Um, Mr. Thamila, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for joining us. And lastly, but not the least, we have Mr. Lamtaka Wilson. He is at the moment a research scholar, Willingson, sorry, research scholar at Manipur University in the Department of Physics. Thank you so much, Willingson, for joining us. Welcome to the show. And I believe and I hope that the discussion we are about to have today will be um, a stepping stone for us to, look forward to have a solution in the ongoing conflict, which has been going on for more than 1.5 years in Manipur. Thank you so much for joining us one more time. So let's get started with the discussion. Like I've said in the beginning of the discussion, we have witnessed, we have seen things which have not been uh, witnessed in the past in the history of Manipur, and this conflict has affected so many of us, especially the youths of Manipur, affecting our livelihood, our day-to-day life, our economy, and everything. And it looks like our the scenario, the political, economical, or anything related to it, be it education as well, it has been affected directly or indirectly because of this conflict. So let's see the opinions of us, our guests today, and see how what kind of solution we're looking forward to. So first of all, Ritu, before we get into the solution of the conflict, would like to know the yeah, since this ethnic conflict is between the Meitei community and the Kuki community, we would like to first of all understand the scenario, the situation of this particular community. So since you are from the Meitei community, would like to know the present, the scenario, the present condition of the Meitei community at the moment. Yes, especially those in Manipur, how they are feeling at the moment, what kind of experiences, what kind of situation are they at the moment? Can you please share us an update of how this conflict has affected the Meitei community?
Thank you for the question, Amay. But I think after 1.5 year of conflict, I would like to answer this not just as a Meitei, but mostly as a woman living in Manipur. Because I think somewhere when we reframe question and when we try to answer just through just our own community, that also sort of exacerbates the problem. That's just my own opinion. So maybe whatever I speak would be my own individual, understanding of the conflict. um First of all, I also want to um differentiate a little and divert from the established narrative that it's the Kuki Meitei ethnic conflict. Yes, the expression is ethnicity, which is very salient because it's ethnic state. Manipur is made up of ethnicities, but there are also a lot of clandestine actors which we haven't even come to talking about. And I think as a student of conflict, I am very interested in looking at why did the conflict occur, and we are not new to certain conflicts, and this will for sure happen again. And although it has expressed itself as a very violent phenomenon last year, I think that this sort of violent expression has its roots in exclusive state making. And by that, I just don't want to put it on the state, but also, if we can reflect ourselves, and if we can sort of pull ourselves out of, Meitei or Naga or Kuki or Manipur, and sort of look at the historicity of such violent expressions in Manipur, be it from Nagas or Kukis or Meiteis right now, between Meiteis and Kukis, and look at it as the state's relationship with its ethnicity. And in the state making of Manipur in post-colonial era, which communities were included and excluded? And if included, then why? If excluded, then why? What was Manipur state trying to respond to? Because nation making, state making is always a response to something bigger. So I think although we all are separated because of the way we are looked at, because of the conflict, I think we all are connected. Manipur's solution cannot be, or like Meitei's solution or condition cannot be just talked about only looking at Meitei. It has to be in relation. So I look at conflict as a relational, it's a relationship. I think it's something that has to be looked at in a continuum and not just as one phenomenon that has occurred since 2023. And coming to the conditions of Meitei,
Yeah.
um, Amay, there was something that really stayed with me when I was reporting. I was freelancing with Huyen Lanpao when this outbreak happened last year,
Okay.
and that was my first time that I actually started to go out of the Imphal cocoon where I was brought up, and it has its own politics of why I was also contained in Imphal as well. Because if you go as a woman, first of all, if you go just a little away from Imphal, then the safety question comes in. Oh, it's not safe, and again, everywhere, everything is always part of certain politics in Manipur, even if you take small decisions. So this time, because of the conflict, I got to explore just away from Imphal, and I came to this. We went to Kautruk, we went to Senjam Chirang, we went to very interestingly this village Kadangban Part Two. So the geography was very interesting because the dam is there, the river is there. There's a Liangmai community here on the upper slope in the north, and on the north this side, I'm very bad with location, but I hope you can follow me.
Yeah. Yeah.
This side, there's Wi-Fi community, and just a kacha road, just not even 5 meters separates Liangmai, Wi-Fi, and Meitei. So in reality, these three communities have been living together for very long. But then I went back and looked at the district formation of that villages, and I found out that Liangmai and Waifei villages were kept in Kangpokpi district, and the Kadangban Meitei village were kept in Imphal West. But technically, these three, by location, by the needs, whatever administrative needs they have, they are most closely located towards Imphal West, which is just 15, not even 15, 14, 13 kilometer from Imphal 0 mile. While Kangpokpi headquarters is 45 kilometer away from the location. So that this is something that I again saw in Lanching in Sugnu Sero area. So then it made me question a lot. Why these people are made to live together. In reality, they are living together. But then when it comes to paper, when it comes to administration, why are you always separated? Why are these people always separated? There's strong ethnicization of the districts. And I think it has its own roots in how Manipur also became ethnicized as a Meitei state. So I would, go back to the politics of state making and what was Manipur state in its making, in its, coming back as a, the sort of, yeah, with it has its own messiness of, how the politics of annexation, which a lot of Meitei still don't agree to, and how this what was state trying to do, what was it trying to assert, and what was the spillover effect? How did it impact it? The state's relationship with other thing that is there. And sorry, I'm taking up too long. But
No,
thirdly
no
and
problem.
lastly, the condition that I would like to again another. I'm just saying from whatever I witnessed. Um, of course, the relief camp, we have to start from there, right? People who have been displaced are not even part of the conversation anymore. Cookies displaced from Imphal or any valley parts. Meitei is displaced from Chuchanpur or Kangpokpi, Iko, Dolai Thabi, everywhere. They are not even part of conversation anymore. But then when you talk to them, I don't think they don't even bother. They don't care. Even if you talk to Meitei, I not because they don't care, not because they don't feel they are Meitei, but they just want to go home. And I think that's a sentiment that's being lost out in this conversation about when this whole conflict has just become about a certain political articulation. So there was this relief camp at Mekola. I've been going there for a while, and there this woman was talking about how she witnessed the deaths of few people, at least one couple. And she told this story where um, people are just dropping death, and then they, if you were to look at them, it's just medical. They would say medical issues, this that. But these people also never had these medical issues when they were living their lives in the hills at their homes. These are just proximate causes that have just come about since May 2023. And one man, she told me about this particular night when this old man, just before, like, tomorrow he's gonna die, but the night before he died, he was that he was looking for Maiphu, but obviously he could not find Maiphu. It was winter, last winter, and he collected some rags like Uncle Chip's wrappers and this Lay's wrapper, and he was trying to get some heat. And this woman cried, and she was telling me that she cried and she thought the next day she would get some firewood for this man, and next day she could not even fulfill that for the old man. The old man died, and she was just telling if we were at our home, even though no matter how poor or rich, we would at least have had some firewoods to keep ourselves warm.
Right.
And this is something that is happening across communities, and like not just Meitei. It's happening among the Kuki, I'm sure. Like, I mean, 100%. And if we can't even talk about things that are these things, um, then I don't know what we are going to focus on. I mean, yeah, that's a big one for me. And yeah, and the also the foothills people. We think that Imphal is just this, just because we see certain pockets, like we see Chingmairong, we see the urbanized area, and we think Imphal begins and ends there. But just like even like 10 kilometer from my house, to I went to this village called Tyren Popi, and there was no school there. People my age, the 20s and 30s people, they all were dropping out of college, of school. There's no school. They're dropping out, and I mean, even Kautruk, they were complaining about there's no water. So I can imagine, like the more you are away from the center, like I can imagine what are the basic grievances that are not even met in the hills. If those things are not even reaching this, so I think these are a lot of basic amenities state failure, where the state is supposed to provide you with goods and services, and where these are, they are failing at it, yet somehow along the line it gets ethnicized. Because if these Meiteis were to complain, they would say Manipur government. But if these Popi villages were Nagas or Kukis, I'm sure this would get ethnicized, the Meitei government, and rightly so. So these are the things that we need to talk about as well, I think.
Okay. All right.
Um,
All right, Ritu, I'll come back to you later. Thank you so much for giving us an update of the present situation and also how it happened. Thank you. I'll come back to you with another question. But for now, I would like to ask Mr. Tangbin Lal, Lal Boy, I would like to ask you the same question, but in respect to your community. Like Ritu has mentioned, the root cause might have been, in our opinions, might differ, but we would like to get to know the present situation. We felt that the solution to the conflict might be near, but it looks like fresh gunfights and lots of tensions. So it keeps on happening again and again. We were looking forward to have a solution which is respectable or acceptable by all, but I don't think that is happening at the moment. So at this present situation, how is the cookie community coping up? How are the people, especially the displaced people? Is the community, like, for example, people in Kampokpi, people in Churachandpur, how are they coping up with this situation?
Thank you, Sorin, for giving me this opportunity. And secondly, I'd like to say welcome and hi to both my counterparts in this discussion. Well, I'm also a student, although I belong to Kuki community. First of all, you're asking me the right question, in fact. And the fact that I'm right now in Manipur and engaged with my research, to a certain extent, I have quite, say, first-hand experience of what I used to hear from Delhi and what is actually happening at the ground level. Now, I will not try. I I don't intend to be an expert, but rather as a student, what I've experienced and seen, that's what I'm going to narrate. See, when coming to when traveling from Delhi to Manipur, what the Kuki people, for example, like me, I did was to take flight from New Delhi and straight to Aizawl, or otherwise we take flight till Dimapur and travel from Dimapur to Kangpokpi. If I'm to traverse through Aizawl, I have to travel from Aizawl to Churachandpur. And Aizawl to Churachandpur, the distance is somewhere around 335 kilometers. Aizawl to Churachandpur. Now from Churachandpur to Dimapur is somewhere around 265 kilometers. So which is like if I'm to travel from Churachandpur to Dimapur, the distance is much shorter than me taking the route from Churachandpur, the route to Aizawl from Churachandpur to Aizawl. Now what I'm trying to say here is now easier said than done. When I came from Dimapur because I had to uh, conduct my research fieldwork in Kampopi for a month. So I was stationed in Kampopi for a month, and now after a month, to cut it short, I had to travel to Churachandpur. Now to travel from Kangpopi to Churachandpur, which is in normal times takes only say 2.5 hours, maximum 3 hours to reach from Kangpopi to Churachandpur through the highways and Tidim Road from Imphal to Churachandpur. But today it took me 11 hours to reach Churachandpur from Kangpopi. I forget about the number of hours that I've traveled, but you must count the cause of, say, mental agony, physical agony, anguish that I have to go through from Kangpopi to Churachandpur while traveling. Most of you must have not seen or heard, but the road that leads from Kangpopi to Churachandpur is a tedious task to take. And I had a hard time. Sometimes I think about the plight of not just me, but people who had to traverse from this route to and fro in order to support a family. Or otherwise, I think about people, especially the poor people, who have no choice but to travel this route, like it or not. So, as a student, see, I'm also a student. That is why I'm saying the plight of the student. That's just one incident. And now, while I was stationed in Kampupi, I've come across students, especially the children of the internally displaced persons, right? So those students actually um, they were once a student of private schools in Chandel or in say the peripheral areas in or some of them or many of them were studying in Imphal, right? Now they're forced to come and travel to study in Kangpokpi and in Churachandpur. But now let me confine to Kangpokpi. In Kangpokpi, I've visited few schools, and the condition of the internally displaced children, especially students studying, is deplorable. And I'm telling you, even the classrooms, especially the government schools, are forced to actually accept students beyond their capacity. I've seen students sitting six, minimum six, five, minimum five to six students in a bench. And that's how they have to, say, fight for their own education. Now, what I'm trying to point out here is also the need or otherwise the importance of the government schools and our schools to actually wake up and also be able to accommodate these students who are actually suffering. Uh, and in private schools, what happened is uh, many of them are forced to say reduce the fees, which in normal times is not actually does not actually happen. So they're forced to accept students beyond their capacity, just like the government schools. And I've also seen and interacted with students who are in, say, higher secondary, who had to leave their studies or otherwise preparing for competitive exams, had to volunteer themselves to go for duty in the front line and and make sure that the buffer zones are intact, because we cannot put our security at risk at the hands of, so to say, despite the presence of the central forces, right? And now, coming to Churachandpur, let me cut the story short.
Okay.
Coming to Churachandpur, where I belong, I had a real tough time traveling from Kampupi to Churachandpur. It literally, I literally shed my tears looking at, from atop the mountains while traveling, looking down at the valley. I think of good times we had together, and and the dreams that I have, that one day, maybe once I graduate and complete my PhD, get back to Manipur and maybe contribute towards the welfare of my state, right? So that kind of dreams have already altered, right? And thinking of all those while traveling, I literally shed my tears. So I started by noon and reached at 11:30. By 11, I started and reached at 11:30 at night in Churachandpur. I was exhausted. So the next day, after a week, I had to take a week's rest. After a week, I went for my research. I interacted with people. I have visited the relief camps, the condition of the students, the families. Although there are relief camps which are constructed by the government, um, those places are actually serving well the IDPs, yes. But those places which are not constructed by the government, but those places which are handpicked by the philanthropic organization and civil society organizations to accommodate this IDPs and the children, it is pathetic, really pathetic. And I cannot imagine living with my children and your wife, husband in those states. Now, when I visited, no, in order to actually address this educational challenges, since we're talking about education and students, Kuki Students Organization, the fact that I'm also a Kuki Students Organization vice president at the moment, I went and interacted with the district student organization and then asked them regarding the condition of the students. There is a community school which is run by Kuki Students Organization, KSO Community Schools, it is called. And you go there, you'll find a lot of students whose parents have died, whose father have died, mother was a Meitei, and father a Kuki. All this kind of stories are there. And since they don't have both the parents are not able to support them, and therefore KSO is doing its best to address the educational challenges of these people. And in addition to that, since we're talking about education, I would also want to highlight how the government employees that I've interacted with, especially who were posted in Imphal, have faced a lot of challenges. Like, for example, for any clerical work related to their services, they said if the paper belongs to a Kuki, then it is halted, and we never know where the paper is buried. So there are a lot of stories like this, even from the government employees employed by the state government. And to add, I mean, what added, worse to this situation is because, like Ritu have also said, yeah, if the Meitei faces problem, they blame the government. But if the Kukis have a problem, we blame the Meitei government in that sense, right? Which actually is being ethnicized, right? But then the quantum of suffering that we have endured thus far is actually amplified because we are now almost fighting against the state. be it in services, be it in education. So anything that is supposed to spring up from the capital Imphal and percolate in the hills is now being dried up or otherwise um, uh, is being jolted and throttled all totally. So considering all of these things, there are many things that can that words cannot express to tell the amount and the kind of sufferings that we have had.
Okay.
So I think I will end my introduction with that remark, and maybe we'll carry on the discussion later.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much, Lavo, for sharing your personal experience as well as the experience of of your people, of your community. Yeah, we'll be discussing more in the later times. At the moment, we're just going with the introduction. All right. Yes, like we have discussed in the beginning, the ethnic conflict is of the two communities at the moment, but the Naga community of Manipur has been, taking the neutral stand, but since the conflict happened and it's been happening in the state, and since we're living together in the state, it has directly or indirectly affected the Naga community in one way or another as well. And of course, like you have, like Nalgo have mentioned, since we're all dependent in the level of the government as well as the our our businesses or whatever it is, it has affected the Naga community as well. So I would like to know how the Naga community has been affected by this ethnic conflict between the two communities, which is the Meitei and the Kukizo community. So for this question, I'd like to come to Mr. Willingson. In your opinion, as a student, as a youth, how do you see this ethnic conflict, and also how has this conflict affected the Naga community?
Uh, Thank you, Mr. Sorenton Haurai, for giving me this opportunity to put forward some of my consequences, the pangs of our people, my people. Thank you so much. It has been many times I've been struck with question like when shall I get the opportunity to express the sufferings, the circumstances of this ethnic conflict towards the Naga community. So I'll just go with straight. I have listed out some of the points. So first, I'll go with I want to say inconveniences while traveling. So I won't say this is not my makeup stories, but indeed this is my self experience indeed. So while we travel from my hometown to our Imphal area, sometimes we face lots of inconveniences while traveling as well. And the second point I want to say is that even sometimes, although we Nagas are maintain neutrality in the whole scenario of during this ethnic conflict, however, it's very unfortunate to witness myself that even some of our Naga brothers or sisters they have been beaten up to some extent as well. So that's very unfortunate, and this is very heartbreaking and heart wrenching to witness that kind of scenario in front of my eye. And another one I want to put forward is that price of the commodities. So me being brought up from Channel district, so we have suffered lots. So lots of the stuffs are coming from Sanapati side or either from Jiribam. So we Chandel, we suffer a lot to be honest.
Okay.
So the price of the commodity is not just a figment of my imagination; it's far beyond my expectation and imagination. So we human beings, there's a human race. We are not born with jewel all the time. Some we have different classes. Some are born with rich. Some are born from a middle class family. So well, for rich people, it's nothing to say much about it. But however, for middle class and lower class people, this ethnic conflicts has brought lots of impact towards their lifestyle as well, which I don't necessarily to mention much. So some of the examples which I can take up is like say the price of the cylinder gas. You would know that how much it costs even in the valley areas. Despite of the challenges in price, we even suffer. It's a hard challenge for us even to get the cylinder these days. So
Right.
and being a student, what to say, I'll just point to the matter of academician in the point of academician. So while during my stay at MU, we faced like say most of my friends, those who are staying at Ren. So what they find is that since it's very hard to find gas cylinder and all, and sometimes when the cylinders got over, and then it's not what to say suggestible for them to use even the electronic gadgets, so which cost lots of money. So when the gas is over, so it's a matter of question to them. they are in dilemma whether should I go for class or should I go for searching the gas cylinder. That's a matter of dilemma and question to them, and indeed it's a time consuming for them as well. So now, then next point I want to put forward is that being a research scholar and being an academician, I want to put forward some of the issues that we face. So during the ethnic conflict, so we Nagas, especially we came to university, so we have faced lots of challenges. Being a research scholar, say during the ethnic conflict, there were lots of problems about internet bans and issues. So at that time, what we do is that when internet is shut down, what to say, though I want to do the things, I want to pursue my career, or I want to do work with my research, no matter how much I want to do, since there is no internet, what to say, just like my hands are already cut away, so which I cannot move at all. I believe that research scholars might will understand my feelings at this moment. And in addition to this, I want to put forward some of the points which I've suffered as being a research scholar on the issue of internet ban. So some of the points I want to mention is that uh, access to research publications. So when we try to do something, we need journals. We have to find we have to do the literature surveys and all to get more knowledge and exposures. So that is the first point we have faced when there is no internet. And second point is that data analysis tools. So what we do is that, especially I'll base on myself, since I'm from physics background and I use lots of softwares and lots of computational stuff. So when there is no internet, when we want to download any software, we don't have any choice but to just let it go, just like monkeys holding a coconut. So in that sense, that kind of problems we have, consequences I have suffered experience with myself as well. And the third point I want to put more is the access to funding and opportunities. This one also, it happened to me personally. It was last year when I was got selected for the NFST fellowship. I almost missed the opportunity because of the internet issue. So being a research scholar, we need a proper financial assistance. Otherwise, we will suffer a lot. And on top of that, our research career will be jeopardized. So this is I want to put forward. And then, yes, lastly, I want to put forward is the limited exposure to latest developments. So this also, there are lots of points I want to mention, but that wouldn't be, what to say, since it's a time constraint, I won't mention much. So these are the key points which I've experienced within myself, that these are the consequences which I suffered. And not only me, I believe that there are lots of scholars, apart from Naga, apart from Meitei, who are pursuing their PhDs in the within the Manipur University. I'm talking especially on the context of Manipur.
Okay.
And in addition, also, I want to let me put one more. See, soft decline in the admission in the Manipur University. I believe that you might have acknowledged how many times Manipur University have issued a notification in regards to the admission. So I have some of my friends from outside the Manipur, even from other countries, and I used to invite them, come and pursue your PG or might be PhD or might be BPS or whatsoever in Manipur. There are lots of vacancies, but what they say is that, brother, we cannot able to do that. We want to pursue our career so much there at Manipur University. Thank you for inviting us. But however, because of the prevailing situation, we're scared to risk ourselves. So that's very unfortunate to hear those kind of words from my friends. Why I'm saying this is that when we have a lot of exposure with lots of friends from outside the Manipur, outside from India, we'll have lots of, what to say, exposures to one another. The sense of competition will increase, and then we won't feel like our knowledge is stagnant at all, and even it will hinder the skill developments and all. So these are the points which I want to focus, that the consequences, the pangs of the ethnic conflicts that I have been suffered, and I've been longing for a time that what could be the best moment. This is the type of question
Okay.
that I've been asking myself, that what will be the right time to express, what will be the right platform to express my pangs of my people to a broader view, to the greater horizon of this today's world. So thank you, brother Sointan Horai. This will be my
Yeah,
takeaways for this
thank you,
particular.
Wilson, for sharing your opinions. Just before, yeah, just before we move on, I'd like to ask one question to you. Do you think the banning of internet in the Naga-dominated area was fair? Do you think it was fair for the government to ban internet to the in the areas where the Nagas are inhabited?
To be honest, I feel like I would say that that's not fair enough, though, because I want to say we are not the one.
Yeah.
What to say? Who's? It's good that I won't say that. What to say? Banning of internet is not good, but however, we should know the place where we should be, because since we in Naga all the time we are maintaining the so-called neutrality, so we don't spread any fake news and all. So I feel like to Nagas, I feel like they should provide what to say internet internet properly, because there are lots of students who wants to pursue the career so much, because we often say that we youngsters are the future pillars of the future.
Okay.
So in spite of the communities, I feel like we Nagas have a huge role for the better contribution towards the state so-called Manipur.
All right.
So thank
Okay,
you.
Wellington, I'll come back to you in a moment. For now, I'd like to ask Ritu a question. See, Wellington has mentioned also, Lal Boy, the experiences that the people of Manipur has been experiencing because of this conflict has been immense, and it has impacted the lives of thousands or lakhs of people. Yes, in the mostly in the negative way, and it has impacted our lives so much that the future of those people seems very bleak. They don't know what to look forward to, and then looking at the present situation, assessing to the events that has been happening, we see that there is no ends to it. We don't see a quick solution to it. What really is the Meitei community looking forward to? What really does this Meitei community aspire to achieve from this conflict? What do you think are the leaders of the Meitei community looking forward to? What do they really want, or what do the people of the Imphal, especially the Meitei community, want? What do they really want to get out of this particular conflict?
Um, I mean, I when I saw the question as well, I thought about it a lot. But to be honest, I don't know. And I mean this very politically when I say I don't know, because there's also where my I don't know comes from this state of not being, not making me part, and by not making me part of this decision making. And by me, I don't mean just Ritu Konsam. I mean the women. I mean, I don't know who is the leader of Meitei community, to be honest. I don't know who to listen to. I don't know who is actually the leader. And this is just an honest opinion of just a student, a Meitei woman living in Manipur and who saw the outbreak from the very beginning. And I think we don't realize, but the youth are most affected because the death of two students, two Meitei students, Linthoy Ngambi and uh, her friend. So she is from my own tribe. So I think this is something again. If I can elaborate and speak from this thing, we are related because kinship again, and then just we are just next to each other we live. It's so funny. Our locality is something that has never been active in politics from since the time I have known. We have seen the ceasefire time back in 2000, early 2000. My I never took part. It was just it stays its own in its own. I don't know. Not because it's not affected. People are affected economically because most of my Laikai people are hand to mouth surviving people. But something really changed in when this girl died, because uh, most of the kids from 13 years old to 18, 19, 23 who used to play football, they just disappeared. The field was turned to a radicalized camp. And when I went reporting, I saw three kids, just 13 years old, and some teenagers calling out to me, and they had guns. So my question is, who is allowing this? I mean, we can sit and talk about all the, we can pretend like we have solutions, but there are really hard things, that hard truth that we really need to address. I don't want my future to be that. I don't want to go back 30 years again to, just being, having that fear that when is it going to, come for us next? And, the radicalization of the youth, they don't know who they are. We don't know who's the enemy. We don't know who we are fighting against now anymore. Anything can come at anyone at any point. And that is the kind of thing when you are thrown into that situation. Um, I may not be answering your question, but then I'm just establishing some realities that, and at this point, that there are many people who claim to lead you. But honestly, as a youth, I don't know who to look up to. I don't know where to find the leadership, because it's supposed to come from the youth, maybe, but youths are being instrumentalized for whatever. And guns don't come easy. So definitely, people at the power are involved. Obviously, I mean, we don't have to say it out loud, it's there. So, and but if you ask me, just 50 years down the line, or maybe 10 years down the line, and just from, what kind of Manipur that I imagine would be, um, we really need to start reimagining ourselves. I mean, nation making, identities, nations are not the final arrival. They are not given, they are constructed, they are imagined. So if they are imagined, why can't we imagine something that is inclusive of all, where we don't have to push each other to this level, where people have to be displaced, where people's houses have to be burned, where people have to be killed? Are we so? I don't know what is that word. I can't find it. Are we so, as human? Are we so? I don't know, that we can't find anything, we can't see beyond but bloodshed. And I think accountability should be shared by everyone. Of course, the state, most importantly, and as a dominant community, Meitei for sure, but it doesn't give a pass to any other as well, being part of the state. So, it's very interesting, actually. It's just coming to my mind. So the other day I was having, we usually get together to have dinner here, because at Ashoka there are very few people from Northeast studying here, especially on financial aid. And there are few of us who get together, and one is Kuki, and he's from Tinkai Kulen. So out of nowhere, we're just talking, and he's like, this is Laiwa season. In October, you're just saying this is Laiwa season. I don't know if you know that Laiwa, that uh, the bamboo shoot,
Yeah, yeah.
the tiny one. And he just went on saying that my village produces that a lot. So if I was at home, if this thing then didn't happen, I would be just eating just Laiwa and would be selling it. So these are the conversations. What I mean to say is that these are the conversations that ever make it part. We, since this conflict, we act like uh, we have not existed for each other at all. And these are the conversations that's gonna change the future. Like there are certain very strong, powerful propaganda from both sides. I would say definitely propaganda, a well constructed articulation, political articulation. But then what is gonna counter those articulation are these dining table stories, the meals that you share, that you can never happen perhaps in Manipur now, but somewhere away from home, like how we are beginning to imagine. And it's just conversation, like it just struck me, it is definitely it is not impossible to reimagine ourselves again as part of one state. um, if I can give the example of Mizoram, how did Mizoram become a state? Mizo identity never existed. It was the MNF, trying to, as far as I know, from what I have studied, it was the MNF, the youth, who used to volunteer for the natural calamity that occurred when the Assam state government didn't give relief. They started as relief workers. Then they got politicized. Then they came as a political party that sort of countered the Silo Lushai chiefs. Because that time the Mizo people were divided on along the common people and the elites of the Silo chiefs. So they eradicated everything, and an identity was constructed which did not leave out everyone. So as Naga, so as Meitei, I think if you look down history, look down, look back, no matter the time, Naga identity itself was imagined. And nation making is not about the falsity or the genuineness of it, but rather how you imagine yourself to be. which suits yourself. So I mean, I would like to take that look at nation making like that and sort of push as youth that I think we should start reimagining an identity where you don't have to, being a Naga does not necessarily mean that you cannot be a Manipuri. Or even if people feel distant and not connected or relevant to the word Manipur, then maybe, I don't know, just imagine the name itself, like, as simple as that,
Okay.
something that we all can connect to.
Yeah.
So that is the kind of politics that I want to look at long term.
Yeah, Ritu, thank you. We can discuss that in another this episode because that is very interesting and important as well. But just one question before I moved on. Do you think, like you mentioned earlier, do you think the leaders would say like you said who you don't even know who really the leaders of the Meitei community are. So do you think at the moment the masses are being led blindly, or are the Meitei community blindly following the so-called leaders of this ethnic conflict? Where I mean, what are their main goals? Is are their goal? I mean, one of their goals to drive out the Kuki community from the Valley. Are those? I mean, is that one of their main goals, or what really are they envisioning? What really are they, letting the people know of their leadership, of their vision that they're leading the community, the Meitei community?
I mean, I think I might get myself into trouble for saying that they are leaders, but I don't apologize for what I said. And I think it's not about not having leader per se, but about me as an individual not able to connect to any of the leaders that has come up and proclaim leadership. Because, like I said, coming back to the clandestine actor, I definitely don't think that this is an ethnic conflict. There are clandestine interests, and as a student, the more I study counterinsurgency doctrines, right, I do feel that we as a community, be it Naga, Kuki, Meitei, definitely need to study counterinsurgency to understand ethnic conflicts in a state like ours because our existence is so contested. Our identity, history, land itself is on a uh, contested space. Even though we may have claimed, like, Meitei would say that, 2000 years of Manipur, Kuki, also Zomia, and then, different, and even Nagalim. But then we should not forget that we, post colonial, we are also part of a big nation state called India. And by counterinsurgency, I just don't mean the military foot down of the Indian state. I also mean the politics of it. I also mean the electoral politics. Yes, the development politics that come into such state, which dictate state making even in Manipur, which dictate relationships, which dictate the cultural which culture gets salient, which culture gets subdued. So I don't know. I got lost
Okay.
in
Yeah,
my thought,
no
but
problem. Yeah, I was just asking a supplementary question in regards to what you said earlier. All right, thank you, Ritu. I'll quickly come back to you, but now I'd like to ask Lalboy about it's the same thing, but coming back to your community, the aspirations that has come up after the event. Last year's the 3rd of May. It has come to the knowledge of of us all that the Kuki community, you are looking forward to a separate administration. That is one of the aspirations. But would like to know what really are the ultimate aspiration of the Kuki Zo community of Manipur, or is it are you the I mean are the cookies or community looking forward to a much more than a separate administration? There has been talks about the cookie integration from different residing inhabiting in different states of India are also beyond India. What really are the aspirations of the cookie Zo community?
Yeah, Soren, thank you. Before I answer to that question, I like to move back to the previous questions that you have asked me regarding the plight of the students, because I would like to mention few more. Because
Quickly, yeah.
if you look at the onset, yeah, very quickly, onset of the violence in MU, you have seen how students' documents were, burned down inside MU campus, right? And also the teachers' offices were attacked and books were burned down, important books. And also for for the whole year, for more than a year, we have been running to and fro, pillar to post in New Delhi, actually to in order to reinstate students who have left Manipur University so that they can join other universities elsewhere in the country, and also the plight of NIT students in Manipur and medical students, especially again. All the Meitei students in Churachandpur Medical College have also faced the same problem, but they were, I mean, reinstated in Imphal, right? Whereas the case of the Kukis is that we don't have the capacity to accommodate all the medical students in Churachandpur Medical College, and therefore, for almost a year, they have been suffering, and especially NIT students and dental students. It is not even been it's not even been 4 months that they are able to continue their studies again. So you can imagine the plight of the students, right? And you have also seen how Ukrul and Churachandpur were at the 11th hour removed from being from conducting SSC exam,
Yes, stay exam.
you know. And yeah, and TKL, Tankul, and KSO have been running pillar to post and fighting for our rights. And finally, these two districts are now being reinstated as exam centers for SSC again. And one more thing that I like to mention is about the recruitment happening spree that is happening in Manipur. And although the recruitment is happening in Manipur, all the cookies, some may have applied, yes, but many are now hesitant to apply for government jobs. And therefore, what happened is many youngsters who are aspiring for life have actually lost this golden opportunity. And that is being, luckily or unluckily, being occupied by our counterparts, the Nagas. I mean, at least they're neutral to this conflict, and therefore they're able to, accumulate for themselves this opportunity. So therefore, the plight and the agony of the Kuki people continues to exist. And yeah, coming back to the real demand, it is very clear. It is very clear how until today we have time and again demanded separate administration in the form of union territory with legislature. Now, my counterparts must have, and others have vehemently opposed to this demand, saying that Manipuri integrity, territorial integrity cannot be compromised at any cost. Who wants to compromise the territorial integrity of Manipur, by the way? It is not the cookies. We know who started this and who does not want the territorial integrity of Manipur is very clear. I will not go into that detail. But then now, since the cookies have demanded this, not because of our political mere political aspirations, but also of various other interests that we have. For example, Manipur University has its own university now, which is accessible by the Meiteis and the Nagas in the state, whereas the Kukis does not have access to Manipur University. Therefore, having a separate administration in the form of union territory with legislature is pertinent. Why? Because in order to have this continuum of education in our own space, have our own university at least, and have our own government recruitment happening in our own area. Now, when I say that, I might sound confined and greedy, but we must also understand how this political autonomy is very, very critical at this moment, because we have seen the injustices, political representation and its injustices that has been meted out against let me pick the hills, right? The Nagas and the Kukis, and how that historical injustices have actually spiraled out of control, and it has led us to this stage. And now, while I'm saying this, I'm reminded of May 3rd. On 2nd of May, both the Nagas and the Kukis together organize this peaceful protest, right? We organized this peaceful protest, but the Kukis were handpicked and targeted, whereas the Nagas escaped or otherwise were not were sidelined. So we have to also think, if at all, when we say the Nagas are neutral, the Nagas are neutral, I do agree after the onset of the war, but prior to the onset of the war and on that day, and development that happened post May 3rd, I think Naga brethren also must think how were the cookies handpicked or single out, and then why were the Nagas not? And what are, of course, I do obliged the fact that our Naga brothers have um, time and again, uh, come to our helping aid, and it is because of their kind-hearted this thing understanding that we are able to traverse from Dimapur to Kampupi. If not, you can imagine another kind of, say, horrendous experience for the cookies again. Now, one more thing. See, considering all of these things and why SA is important, let me pick one more point to substantiate why SA with UT with legislation is really important. Is why? Because the cookies have been time and again framed as people who love to go into conflict. They have gone to conflict with Meitei, the Nagas, these and that, in other states also. But actually, let me allow me to look at this narrative that is being built from a different prism, okay, and see the cookies as a victims of generational conflict. Imagine 30 years ago in 1993, we had, say, unfortunate, this thing with the Nagas and the cookies. And we have been, trying our best to rebuild ourselves. And yes, by the grace of God, we have been able to rebuild ourselves and uh, contribute towards the welfare of the state and also the nation in general. But then again, now all of that hard-earned effort that we have had is now turned into ashes. You can imagine the number of years and the generation that it will take to even reach the previous, states that we have had accomplished before the onset of the war. So, considering all of these things, not that I vouch for, the territorial disintegration of the state, but then what compels me or compels the cookies is that, considering all of these injustices and the kind of stepmotherly treatment that we have had suffered for so long, we have been demanding that now it is the right time, to demand for separate administration, and that UT with legislature is an answer to this conundrum and to this problem that is actually we are embroiled in. And I think that is what will emancipate the cookies and help them rebuild themselves and also eventually contribute towards the welfare of the country, which we are also constitutionally bound as citizens of this country. I think I'll end with that. Sorry.
Yeah, Lalboy, thank you so much. But do you think this separate administration is achievable? Do you think your demands will be um, achievable in the years to come? Do you think this is I mean, because there are lots of parties which are opposing to it as well. Do you think this is achievable, or are you demanding it because of this conflict?
I think it is achievable. If somebody says it is not achievable and it is unethical to demand for SA, I think that is just a hyperbole, hyperbole. I mean, yes, why not? As being abiding citizens of this country, the Constitution of India allows that we have our own political aspirations, and that's what the Nagas have also been demanding, right? And now, as somebody who's rationally thinking, I'm imagining, sorry, in that it is more difficult for the Kuki, Nagas, and the Meiteis to stick together as one, which we have had, I mean, and get back to that previous experience is much more difficult than actually separating.
Okay.
Separating is much more easier, and which to me is, I think, the ideal solution for a permanent peace in the region.
All right.
Yeah, to
That's a
cut it
that's
short,
a
I think
very
that.
interesting comment, Lalboy. Very interesting one. We hope to have a discussion or more detailed discussion on that All right, Ritu, I want to come back to you. Lalboy has stated some, some of his opinions regarding the aspiration of the Kuki community, why they want to be separated from the administration of the government of Manipur. Do you think the separation from Manipur is a solution to this ongoing conflict, or what do you think are the steps? What do you think are the steps to be taken by the government or the two uh, involving communities, or even the Nagas or the rest of the country? What do you think are the steps to be taken up to end this conflict? What are the solutions that you think will end this conflict in a peaceful manner?
I don't think because it's a political demand, the nature of its rollout would never be peaceful.
Okay.
Because yeah, that is the design of the demand itself. Because of the, I mean, whether we like it or not, the placement of each other, right? Um because if cookies demand separate administration, by the very default of the demand, Meitei would retaliate, saying that all the labeling will come out. And I'm talking about if we put demand as a continuum, something will be there in the middle as a moderate solution, and something will be there in the extreme sides, right? So
Okay.
the extreme, the way the Meitei see the extreme of the extremity from the Meitei's end would be the demand. Um, and the cookies, the way cookies see the extremity of Meitei's would be the opposition to the demand itself. So something is there in the middle that we haven't figured out yet. Yet people who I have spoken to in the in the relief camp, both cookies and Meitei's, they speak of certain, just this, this phrase of just wanting to go home, that
Okay.
people wanting to go back to that, so that somewhere that gets lost out, and that's what I have been saying. And I don't know if I'm capable to even answer this, because there's a lot of fear, to be honest. And I don't know who I'm going to represent when I say this. Do I represent Meitei, and which Meitei am I going to represent? I honestly don't know. But before coming to my solution, I would like to come back, because it was very interesting that, listening to Lalboy also talking about, narrating his the difficulty of not being able to come to his own hometown, home state, and he had to go from all the way through these hills, different states, and come to Kangpupi and Churchanpur and all of that. That just struck me. This, if Lalbo is not able to come to Imphal, there's also a shrinking of my space. The way I imagine the Manipur state, people, it's very funny actually and very ironical. In the center from Imphal, people say "Long live Manipur," and it's so ingrained, right? From very young, you don't even know what it means, but it's inscribed all over the Imphal walls. "Long live Manipur! Manipur's state territory should not be broken." Yet I have never been allowed to go out of Imphal because of safety issues, because of highway, whatever politics that has been played out. As a Meitei, at a certain, if there's a thing, sublime conflict between Meiteis and Nagas, Meiteis would never go to the hills. If right now I'm not able to go even to the foothills, I can't go 10 kilometer away from my home. So there's also a shrinking of space that we are not really addressing, and I think that's one of the biggest concern of Meiteis, because we say that Meitei uh, is talking about Manipur state territory, but what state territory are we talking about when we can't even go beyond a certain point, right?
Right.
So these are something that we need to address, that which I have left out on purpose, because it has its own tangent of discussion and discourse that would be too long and lengthy for this class. So I think if the way I see it is, the Manipur state government is very weak from the very beginning. It has never had its own will, and for because of that, and the coming up of different ethno nationalist armed movements, like in the 80s, be it KNO, KNA, be it even the second phase of Naga nationalism, it definitely has to do with how the state relationship is with those ethnicities. Just bear with me, like how the state was, how the state form its relationship with different ethnicities, and it will keep happening, I think, to the point that everything is literally broken up. But then, can we really? Somebody has to think and really think about, if, and even if this demand of separate administration is given, I don't think it's just going to be affected to only the Meitei. What are Nagas going to say? What are the different Naga voices even in Manipur? So this is something that we all need
Right.
to talk about. It's not just Kuki's issue alone, even if the demand is for Kuki alone, right?
Yeah.
Like I said, I want to reiterate again that everything is related, whether we like it or
Okay.
not.
Ritu, when you come to that part, I'd like to bring a question from Lalboy when he said that it is easier for the three communities to live separately than to, live as one. What would you like to comment on that? Because
Um,
what from what you have been sharing your opinion, like you said, when we say Manipur, now the people of, the people inhabiting in the Imphal Valley, especially the Meitei community, they will not be able to go to Churachandpur, to Kangpokpi. Those in Kangpokpi and Churachandpur, they are not able to come to Imphal anymore. So are we really living in a state together? Right. And for example, yes, the Naga community has also been demanding for a greater Nagaland. The Nagas have their own national movement. So these three communities, yeah, Manipur is a very complex state, a very complicated, complex politics has been happening here since even before the creation of the state. This has been happening. So do you think separation is the solution, or to find a solution together and live as one is what we should look forward to? What do you think is the better option?
I definitely believe in finding a solution um for everyone, inclusively. There needs to be a reimagining. And when I say reimagining, I just don't mean on a cultural or just a friendship fraternity level. I mean it in the very making of the state itself. Reorganize the state, reimagine the state. That when people talk about democracy, I don't know much, but I was just reading this article the other day, and Ambedkar talked about people think that democracy actually came from Western, but actually it came from India. But India never recognized that, and it comes from some. He says he was criticizing casteism and Hinduism by using this the essence of democracy that was present but was never recognized by Indians and Hindus. So what I took away from that was my takeaway from that was uh, we think that democracy is a state of government, a political function of a government by default of voting or something, but it's not that. It's a state of mind. You know, to be democratic means to have that democratic attitude, and I think that is something that is lacking in this society in Manipur. Uh, uh, be it Meitei, Kuki, or Naga, we don't know how to be democratic, and we don't have the democratic mindset. And more so, it's reflected in the Meiteis because being the dominant one. Because there's also that thin line that dominant people have to be mindful of, being either dominant or chauvinistic or very very hegemonic. So it's very easy. It's a very thin line. Being a dominant is, not your fault because you have, by design, you have been that. But then it's a choice one can make to be exclusive or not, or to be mindful. So I think that democratic state of mind is something that needs to be cultivated, and I think it's possible because if you talk about separation, there's going to be a bloodshed. It's going to follow. True. For me, it's how I see it, and not just between Meitei and Kuki, but it's going to follow. And I see it in the wars that's happening amongst our youth, Kuki and Meitei youth, within the state boundary. I see it across the border that, in Myanmar, and it has its own, like, everything is involved. We know that, everyone is involved. So, yeah, I think that solution, something like,
Solution within the
things,
state is what you think is the most favorable one.
or just conversation beginning. I mean, it might sound very ideal and very feminine sort of to say, but I think that is also precisely why this conflict has gone on for so long, because
Okay.
it has seriously avoided and excluded women from both communities.
Okay.
And if women were to talk,
Mm.
then I think solution or the solution towards the conflict might have also been very different.
Okay. All right. Dialogue is one of the options then. All right. Okay. Labo, I'll come back to you. Ritu has mentioned about, if there's separation, there'll be bloodshed, there'll be more chaos, and then the, Meitei community or the Naga community will have a problem with the separate administration. So I don't, she thinks that it's not an ideal proposal, ideal solution to end this conflict. Is separate administration the only solution to end this conflict, or do you think there are other? For example, she just mentioned about having a conversation, coming together in a table and having a dialogue. Are there any other options, steps to be taken to end this conflict and find solution together and live as one within the state of Manipur?
I may I may sound very, very irrational when you ask me that question to answer, but the answer is there is no solution without separate administration. That's how I see it. Now, why would there be a bloodshed if there can be dialogue for peace? Can't there be a dialogue for separation without bloodshed? I mean, it is possible, right? We know the fault lines, the ethnic fault lines that has been drawn in Manipur. And now, as educated students, let us not be blind. I mean, if we are to look for a permanent solution for a longer term, I mean, why not separate peacefully? I keep giving analogy of say of two students always fighting in the class who are seated in the same bench. If a teacher, as a teacher, if two students are always fighting, or let's say the Kuki Naga, let's take three students in the bench, same bench, always quarreling over somehow creating nuisance in the class. As a teacher, I have the moral responsibility to separate those three people, make the one sit at the front, maybe one in the middle, and one at the back, so that tranquility is maintained in the class, isn't it? I mean, it is not. It is not. What is that? It is not nanoscience or computer science to understand. It's simple as that. Now, when I say separation, I don't know why our Meitei brethren take it as something that is actually a thorn in the flesh. For me, they should not act as if they are the honor of Manipur.
Okay.
This concept, this thinking should stop. Post-colonial, right? Pre-independence, you go back. Let's say during the time of the British have separated us based on their say studies, right? These anthropologists have studied, and therefore we have they have separated us, the Kukis, the Nagas, and the Meitei, based on our say similar traits, culture, practices, traditions, all of these languages, right? And time and again, Professor Akoizam has our present honorable MP have time and again criticized the British. It's no use criticizing the Britishers. In fact, we must thank them for actually separating us in the sense in order to maintain our distinct identity. So that has to be maintained, and not just identity, but also identity. Sorin is attached to our land. How Nagas love their land. I really, really am impressed at the way the tribals, in general, love their land. Not just the tribals, but also, of course, other communities. But our identity is attached to our land. So when we say separate, it also means separate for the Meiteis, separate for the Kukis, and for the Nagas. Okay. Why not remain as three entities, having our own separate, say, political autonomy? That way, we thrive together, right? We thrive. Now, I would like to, let us nip in the bud with this mentality that if we separate, there will be bloodshed. I think we can also be separated peacefully. And one last point that I would like to make is when Ritu also said about KNO, you did mention about KNO and other insurgent groups. I think we must also understand the difference between insurgent groups who are operating within the constitution of the great nation, you know, and secessionist groups, and how you see how very based insurgent groups were secessionist, and therefore they wanted to break away from India and create a separate Kangleipak. I mean, you also understand, as a student of peace conflict, you will definitely do, and more than me, you will do that. So somebody who is demanding the political aspirations, right, duly, uh, under the constitution of this great country, should be respected. And therefore, what the cookies demand is not something that is outside of the constitution. And as abiding citizen, and as educated citizens of this country and this state, in particular Manipur, if you had to look for a long-term solution, I think separation in a peaceful manner is the only solution. Yeah,
All
thank you.
right. All right. Thank you so much, Lalbo and Ritu. You have both made your statements clear, and then yeah, um, we have heard so many opinions from the two of you, which is very interesting, and then the viewers would be loving that. And I think we'll be analyzing on that as well. We have taken a bit of time on that. I'd like to come back to Willingson as a community who has a neutrality stand on this particular conflict. I'd like you to be the last person to help them help them or pacify them by suggesting some solutions which you think will end this conflict, because like you have mentioned earlier, it is at the moment it is just the two communities who are at the warring zone, but the Nagas has also been been affected in directly or indirectly in so many cases. And just in a few days back, two lads from the Pumai community were physically assaulted, right, by a particular group as per the allegations, which the case has not been solved yet. So in daily instances has been happening and again. So some opines that the Naga community should also not be just a mere bystander. Now we cannot ignore the this conflict any longer. What do you think is the solution to end this particular conflict? What are the steps to be taken up by the two communities, or by the Nagas, or by the state government, or even by the Indian government?
Thank you, Mr. Sointan Haurai, once again. Indeed, it's very unfortunate to witness myself, although I'm from Naga community, how to say, being the maintainer, sustainer of neutrality. In spite of all those things, however, we Naga also suffer in the one way or the another way. Even if I'm not wrong, even some people got died, even from Naga community, if I'm not wrong. So when there's ethnic conflict between Meitei and Naga, it's not on ethnic Kuki and Meitei. Even there is a loss of life towards the Naga as well. So whatsoever, what I want to bring the conclusion, the solution is that I'm not I don't have much political ideas, to be honest, and I'm not from political background as well. And since I'm from a science background, I'll be going to shoot direct. I'm like in a straight way, not in a political way. I'll be talking in terms of being an academician plus in terms of a religious way. So that I'll be speaking that way. Hope
Okay.
you won't mind with this. So allow me to begin my sharing, like say with one of with sharing. Allow me to begin with saying Manipur is known as the Sanalai Park, and on the other hand, people used to call it as a Lai Park. Lai Park means land of God, and Sanalai Park means land of God. We all know that. So why I'm trying to say is that because say, in spite of the communities we have in Manipur, we have Kuki, we have Nagas, we have Meiteis, we have Bangals, Muslims. We all have religions. If I'm not wrong, those who are residing in Manipur, that so-called Manipur, I believe that all of us will have our own religion, if I'm not wrong. But and I want to assure one more is that every religion says they love one another. And in say most of the cookies we follow Christians, Naga Christians, and Meitei, yeah, Hinduism, they have some Sanamahism, and yeah, Muslim, they have say Islam. So if I'm very much sure that every religion says they love one another. This is my what to say. I would say that the kind of a hyperbole again. So, but one thing it's very unfortunate to witness is that the love, I feel like it's no more here. We cannot find love anymore here in this present scenario. And we know that Manipur is known for its rich culture and then beautiful landscapes and then local cuisine. We all know that. And I really miss with my friends, like with my friend, with cookies together, having dinner at in our hostel. And seems like when I have those kind of cuisines in my room alone, I miss all my friends. And but rather it becomes also the beautiful those delicious scrumptious dinners become tasteless to me. So people of Manipur, you see, we worship God in one way or another way, or might be Christian or Hindu or Sanamahism or Islamism whatsoever. But in spite of worshiping God, what to say, I feel like what to say, we don't understand the meaning of religion. Why we worship God? That's what I believe. We're worshiping God every now and then. We're praying to God. Say me myself, I'm Christian. We're praying to God every now and then. Even the Hindus also they pray. But why it is so? How much, in spite of the prayers we have, why it is so that we can keep the scriptures? Say in the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, say we have in the chapter 10, verse 10. There are lots which I don't need to mention necessarily. It talks about love all the time. Even in the Islam, even in the Bible, it says that in the John Gospel says that love one another. Why it is so that what to say, in spite of the religions, the prayers we have, the we're worshiping God, why we hate each other? That is my question I want to throw to my audience. See, I believe that I want to ask you one question. Have you ever seen a dog going to church, going to temple, or going to mandir, or going to mosque for prayer? I don't think so. But we human beings, we go to church, go to temple, go to mosque for prayer, asking God, and we pray that, right? But still, then we cannot. I feel like we don't understand the value of religions. Why we're praying to God? That is the question I want to, and I want. That is my first takeaway for this audit to the audience. So, and coming to the another point as well,
Yeah. Wellington,
when
let's
we look
make
between
it
say,
quick. And since we're running out of time, yeah, please make it,
okay, okay,
I
okay,
mean, your last point, and then we'll end the
yeah,
call.
okay, okay.
Thank you.
Okay, okay, okay. I'll make it short. So I'll just put one two more points, and I'll make it as short as I can.
Okay.
So even when we do lexical studies between Meiteis or Kukis or between Nagas, see, I will, though there may be no more much similarities, but that I'm very much sure that there must be some similarities between the three communities residing in Manipur, the Kuki, Naga, or uh, Meitei. And on top of that, what to say? If I happen to study linguistic continuum, then I will find that there will be some similarities then, similarities still. That shows that what to say, we have close interactions to with one another. Then why don't we live one another peacefully? So what I want to say is that at the very first point, the biggest takeaway from to the audience, what I want to say is that first we need love. Because when you have love, you have the zeal, the passion to forgive one another. And if there's forgiveness, there will be no enmity. And if there is no enmity, there will be no vengeance. And if there is no vengeance, there won't be no shedding of blood. And if there is no shedding of blood, there will be no war. And if there is no war, there will be peace. So this is my takeaway to the audience. Thank you, brother, Mr. Sorensen Hore. Thank
All
you.
right. Okay. Thank you so much, Ritu, Lalboy, and Wellington. We have had a very meaningful conversation. And it is not just for the four of us, but all the thousands of viewers who are watching this particular conversation. And I believe this is one positive steps toward ending the ongoing conflict, which has been going on for more than a year now. And I hope and believe that we as youngsters, the main objective, the main idea of this conversation is to bring forward us youngsters to, share our honest opinions genuinely, because most of these events and also the ongoing conflict, in my opinion, is it happened because of the selfish interests of some leaders, I should say. And this is not what everyone wants. It is the man-made, of few individuals, the policies and visions of few individuals that has happened, that it has led to the loss of lives of many people, hundreds of people, and displaced thousands of people from their own home. And I believe that us youngsters should look forward more positively with optimism. And it is always the politicians, the so-called social activities who shares their opinions, and then sometimes like Ritu mentioned earlier, without a proper vision, proper plan, uh, leads the public, and then it leads to a chaotic situation. So I believe us youngsters should come up more, raise our opinion, and then find ways and solutions together, because most of the time it is us youngsters that are facing these issues. We are the most affected ones, and the present is ours, the future is ours as well. So we should be, you know enlightened enough of the situation and handle it with care, because this is a very delicate and a sensitive issue. And because of that, I really really want to thank you. I extend my gratitude once again to the three of you for taking out your precious time and then sharing your genuine and honest opinion to all the viewers. I believe that our viewers would like it. Feedbacks always welcome. And yes, you have given us some interesting comments in our conversation. Would like to discuss this further in the days to come as well. Thank you all so much. We'll see you in the better days, and then hopefully we can discuss about better things in the days to come. Thank you all so much once again. Good night, everyone.